You're watching The Whole Living Show on Trajectory TV.
Without truth, freedom doesn't exist. My soul has always been based on the principles of freedom, which is getting to the core or truth of an issue. Choosing the name Radical Press embodies me. When you look at the etymology of the word radical, it's about getting to the root of shit, derived from the Latin word radix, which literally means root. Press is the medium in which we use. Press can be in print, video, voice, or any type of media that gets information to the people. Radical Press magazine is about bringing truthful information and real knowledge to the people through a different lens.
You're stronger now than you ever been. You gotta leave now, it's time to catch the wind. You will climb up high and look through the clouds. And when you're feeling low, I know you'll bounce back. Oh, and just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call me. Just call me. Just call me.
Hello, everybody. It is Wednesday. Welcome back to another episode of The Whole Living Show. And you guys caught me. I was recording my show opening on my phone. So I got caught. In case you saw the phone, I'm just letting you know. This is what happens here. So listen, guess who's back in the house? It is our monthly meetup with the amazing women from Radical Press magazine. So the only thing that I want to talk to you about in the beginning here is I am just looking for everybody's continued support here as I go through the Fab Over 40 contest. Yes, I am still in the running, so I'm so happy. I want to thank you all out there for your support and your continued support here. I am looking to help someone here in the Charlotte area, be a care partner for them at the end of this contest to help them with breast cancer fight, right? The fight in breast cancer. So just that means, taking them to doctor's appointments, doing grocery shopping, whatever it is that they need, paying a bill, whatever it is that they need, but helping someone get through the fight. So please continue to vote for me, everybody out there. And I appreciate it. So, and I think we have the link that is right in the comments here on the show page. So just click the link. Every vote counts. You can vote for free. If you do decide to make a donation, those donations go towards the National Breast Cancer Foundation. So they're raising awareness. They are doing research, and New Beauty Magazine has been behind that fight for some years now, since they started this particular contest, which I think we're in our third year now. So please support that effort. All right. So I don't want to delay this because Radical Press magazine dropped on the 20th of October. And when I tell you this third edition, just like all the others, is so rich. But this one was more about awareness. And I went cover to cover, everybody. So get ready, buckle up. Here you go. I'm bringing them in. I'm starting off with the radical woman herself, Jamie Lane, founder and CEO of Radical Press Magazine and the organization, we had the Oracle of Apollo, Dominique Rivera, also a contributor of Radical Press Magazine. And if you guys don't know, she's on right here on E360 TV, on Trajectory TV, right before the show, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure that you check her out on Divine Encounters. You will not be sorry that you did, because her show is quite special, very unique, not like any other. So make sure that you catch her at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And she made it here right after her own show. So, hey. And then we have the one and the only, the disconnector, the producer extraordinaire here, Brandy, the disconnector. So listen, everybody, everything that you see here, because I gotta give Brandy her kudos. She likes to stay quiet, but I'm gonna big her up. That's what we say in Jamaica, man. I'm gonna big her up because all these graphics and all these beautiful visuals that you see is done by Brandy. So I can't take credit for none of it. All right. So let's get started. I want to dive into this because I know this is going to go like right up to the last minute with all that is in this magazine. And you know how we do. We get into so many different deep conversations when we come to the show once a month. But boy, oh boy. So I want to start off with, because the editor here, Jamie, and CEO, was talking about time. And your time currency. And she started it off in the beginning, and then there was some more of it like throughout the magazine, like somewhere in the middle, a little bit closer to the end, but there was more of it there in the magazine. And I want to talk about that time currency with all you ladies, and why that's so important, because Jamie did mention that she doesn't think that we're working for money, right? That we're out here doing the things that we need to do for time freedom. And I thought that was so important to mention, especially for those who have, at some point in your life, which is most of us, have had a job and then have gone to entrepreneurship and maybe even toggled back and forth. And now thinking about, what it means for your time, for you, for your family. So I want to start with the ladies. What does time mean for you? And anybody can go first.
I vote for Jamie. Go first.
That's what I was gonna say.
Okay. All right, I'll do it. So for me, going through my renaissance, I met you women when I started. Hello, Shima. Love that name. And I met you women during that time. So you've seen me these 3 years, 2 years, whenever we've been on here, and so for me it was like, okay, I'm scrolling. They see me scrolling.
I was thinking that.
And so I'm like, I've been an entrepreneur for a long time. I have supported myself for through business 11 years, right? Like I don't go to work for anyone. I do it on my own. I've relied on my own self to make my own money, create my own time, and do my own shit. So for me, being 45 years old at another level up here, I'm not 25 anymore. I'm not 27. I'm not, there's a different level of, it's elevated, right? I need to do things commensurate with my age. Okay. Because I want to be retired. Like I'm so close. And I'm not talking about 60 close. I mean, I am so close. And for me to get to that thing, it's because I want that time. It's so important to me. So I can either be scrolling and I did all that, I can get into my inner entrepreneur journey, or I can do things that align with me, which is time, right? We don't know ourselves, so we don't know what to do. I spent time learning myself, so I knew how to spend my time. Because I don't want your systems. That's great. Your systems work for you and all that. And so when we listen to people about do this and this, it's so great. It worked for me. So you're out there and you're like, oh, wow. Give me. And I don't want your systems. I need to find my own systems. And if I don't know who I am, I can't find my own systems. So I'm spending time that I don't need to. Learn your own systems. If my systems look like your systems, cool, great. I want that for you. But when we get caught up Spend your time the way you want. And I mean that 100%, because if you don't feel good about something, if you're getting up at the crack ass of dawn, setting your alarm clock, going to work for somebody else for 17 years, they're not giving you pension.
They're sure not.
Well,
It does not look like the days of the old.
Is it sustainable? Is it a resource? So for me, time, it's just so important to me. It's so important. And I think that's the currency for me that I feel if we're able to achieve one of my radical philosophies, time. I think that that's one of the main important ones. And it has to happen when you have a relationship with yourself, which is we'll get into that in Radical Press later on. But
yeah, and I love that you said when you spend time learning yourself, you know how to spend your time. So I'm stealing that. I just want
steal it, girl.
I'm stealing it. What about you, Oracle?
Okay, so this is so interesting because I just talked a lot about time recently. And I said, there is time. They're like, how do you get everything done? There is time between time. There is time between time. How do you fit everything in while you're brushing your teeth? What is that? That you're spending time brushing your teeth, but you could also be listening to audiobook. There is time between time. When I'm on my way to drive to the gym, I'm time between time. I'm also rehearsing and practicing my vocals while I'm in the car on the way to the gym. Time between time. We need to be able to make the most of that time. And I know there's like multi-million-dollar studies of 5 a.m. crew, whatever. I don't want people to get bogged up in that system of that 5 a.m. crew. There's a lot of these are like analytical people, but there's a lot of creative people who make movies or who make art or music. They're not waking up at 5 a.m. They're going to bed at 5 a.m.
That's right. That is so
Those
true.
people who are sitting in that creative energy, that fem energy, is opposite because the nighttime is the energy of the feminine. So for me right now, I posted on Instagram a few days ago, leaving the gym, and it was like 2 a.m. People were like, "Oh my God, do you go to the gym at night?" I'm like, this is the time that I have. Because should I just make an excuse and say, "Oh, it's too late. Oh, it's too cold. Oh, it's this." No, I am creating time where otherwise there wouldn't be time. There is a 888 rule. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this, but there is an 888 rule, and that is basically 8 hours work, 8 hours sleep, and then those other 8 hours we divide it into 3 aspects. So that is your growth, your family, and your social. So you break that up. And as I've been implementing that, it's like, oh, okay, it's time for this now. It's like there's a system in place. And so, like Jamie said, it's more about finding what works for you.
Yeah.
I'm not going to wake up at 5 a.m., but I will be texting you that I will not make an early morning show because I just went to bed an hour ago.
And I love that time between time because I talk about that too. Like, I didn't think about it in the context of time between time. Got to be honest about that.
You call it habit stacking,
Habit
Tracy.
stacking. Yeah, I like the habit stacking, because I like to do the praise and worship while I'm working out. I always put something like that together. Or like you said, listen to a podcast or an audiobook while I'm doing something else, right? So it just helps, right? Meditate and pray, right? So I always do those things together so that I can like kind of eliminate some of that stuff, make sure that I'm refreshing my mind and doing something else that I need to do. So I love that you said time. I like the way you described it though, time between time. Just makes it feel like, okay, I don't have to worry about, oh my God, I don't have 5 minutes or 15 minutes because there's time in between time to kind of combine things together. So what about you, the disconnector?
Well, interestingly enough, my husband said something that kind of made me do a double take a couple of weeks ago. And he simply said, if time wasn't our most important commodity, why is that what they take whenever we mess up?
Come on, Mr. Maurice.
So I was like, you know what? And it's sneaky time. Time is very sneaky. A lot of people take it for granted until theirs is running out or something happens unexpectedly that could have been prevented had they been proactive a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
So time is a very powerful yet overlooked thing by many people. And it was that comment by my husband that made me go, huh. So I went to my doctor recently, new doctor. Needed a new primary care physician and found a good one, love her. And
My main thing with time is I've been extremely fatigued lately. I've been getting some of my energy back, but something still isn't quite right. So did my testing, realized, okay, I'm deficient in this, this, and this. Iron, B12, and vitamin D. So when I work on myself, get those deficiencies taken care of, I will have more energy and therefore more time. And I'm excited about that. I'm extremely excited about that. So my random story of the day. You're welcome.
Yeah. So
I'm glad you shared. You never share your life, so thank you for sharing.
Yeah. And sidebar, I got to mention that for everybody out there, right? Especially the two. I know B12 is a big one, but iron and vitamin D, like if you are deficient in those, like things are going to start to crash. So I just want everybody out there, go get your numbers like Brandy did, figure it out with your physicians, holistic doctors, whatever they are. Get yourself together there because it makes a big difference. So I had to do a sidebar. right. Call me. But I had to do a sidebar there. But then you talked about what your husband said. So this goes back to the magazine because a lot of this is talking about the systems that we have out there. And it's interesting that your husband said, if it wasn't the biggest commodity, why do they take it away from us? So now when you think about some of the systems that are out there that are in the magazine for this third edition, a lot of that is them trying to take away time from the masses, right? So now let's talk about some of those systems that you have in the magazine. So, since we just started talking about Brandy's doctor visit, I'm going to start with the one that you had on the FDA.
Yep. So everyone knows how I feel about the FDA. Everyone here knows how I feel about it. And it's just it's important for us because for me, it's one of the richest motherfucking empires in the world. And they're making money. They told us our appendix didn't have a purpose. Okay. Do you know what purpose the appendix has? For all you people out there who don't know.
I don't have an appendix, so please enlighten me.
Okay, well, they lied to you. There is a purpose. It's for your immune system or your processes to work. It fights off the bad bacteria. It helps your prebiotics and probiotics work in your digestion. It's a very important organ. But the FDA community said for years it didn't work. It was unnecessary. So one or two things are happening. One, they don't know shit, and look what they did. They took out all your shit. Now, I don't want those motherfuckers touching me. Two, they did know, and they did it on purpose, and what the fuck are they doing with our organs, okay? So in either situation you look at, and I'm just using logic and science, taking your appendixes out is a huge business, okay? Eric is fucked. His systems are fucked, okay? They did a thing on me that fucked up my vagus nerve. The vagus nerve is responsible for every single thing in your body. Every single thing. Why do you think I have migraines or puke? Because my shit's off. Okay? My vagus nerve. They clipped my fucking vagus nerve. I get so emotional. I get so... My DNA, they exploited my DNA. They exploited my fears. They exploited our fears. They convinced women to chop off their breasts because of breast cancer. They convinced women to take away the very essence, the physical parts that make them a woman. Okay, now I don't care what anyone else thinks. This is how I feel. I like my body. I like the fact that I'm a woman. I'm devastated and pissed and angry that they've convinced women and human beings to mutilate themselves and take away body parts and things like that. So I don't agree with that at birth. I don't agree with mutilation for children. I don't agree with mutilation in the name of inclusion. I don't agree with mutilation in the name of medicine or anything else, okay? I just know how our bodies work. I've done so much research on the DNA. I've done so much research on the DNA, probably more than doctors. Doctors don't even learn DNA. Those are facts. I'm not making this is not propaganda. They don't know DNA, okay? They just don't. And our bodies were built. You don't trust your higher power. You don't trust that our body was meant to be powerful and regenerate its liver and our hair grows back. And we're just so amazing beings, and I just feel like our power is being taken away from us, and they're manipulating our DNA and exploiting it and telling us we need their medicine because it's a huge fucking business, and then you need health insurance and all these other things that go along with the business.
Yeah, which in turn robs us of our time, right? Because everything that they're taking away from us takes time for us to go back into the system to get what
Or
we
we die from it, or we're constantly wondering what's wrong with my body. Oh, you
Right.
took my immune system out of my body. Thank you.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know the year, so don't quote me on that part. But prior to pharmaceuticals, right? It was based on food being your medicine and herbs, and even in this country, right?
Yeah.
Even here, that's what it was based on. So I always talk about this because I have the women in my family have longevity, but I can remember growing up, there were farms around, right? And that's what they ate. They ate from the farms, right? And the food was coming from the farms. And now, and again, I always say this, I'm from the state of New Jersey originally. It's called the Garden State. It is no longer the Garden State, but it used to be, right? Right? Dominique knows this, especially in southern New Jersey, right? You could see a multitude of farms growing up. Now they're all cornfields. They're not farms anymore.
Which is
Right.
GMO.
So
And
yeah,
subsidized.
Genetically modified to mutate your DNA even more.
yeah. So that being said, that longevity came from real food, real farms, real animals that were being raised and being fed good food for them so that they could be good food for us, good vegetables, all of that. So yeah, I had to put that in there.
It's
And
crazy how
we
it's
lost.
crazy how or like real food, organic food has to be labeled as organic food so that you know it's real food, and all the processed food doesn't say this is processed, this is fake. I feel like that is like counterintuitive. Like, tell me what I shouldn't be eating by telling me this is not real food. Like, just make it clear.
It is. It's in small letters now. It didn't have to be, but now it's in bioengineered ingredients down here. And that only started in 2023, by the way. And they were pissed off about it because they lobbied. We found, I could go on and on. I don't want to interrupt you guys' time. Go ahead, Brandy.
I'm just astounded by just how very quickly food is changing in a way that like anybody that's paying attention can catch it, but nobody's really upset when you're talking about the broader spectrum of everybody. Like, I bought some chicken the other day that I cooked, and you remember when chicken breasts used to come, even non-hormone raised organic chicken breasts used to be decent size. You used to have to cut them in half. Well, the ones I got were small and stringy. I'm like, is this cloned meat? What is this shit?
I feel like that might be real, and the big fat shit's cloned. I don't know.
Right, but Dominique was saying, what was I saying earlier? And then what I was saying earlier is FDA stands for fuck them assholes.
Hey, thank God this is an evening show, everybody.
We'll be here all night, or at least for the next 45 minutes.
Yeah. So now you don't know what you're getting, right? Because we talked about on this show before, there's the FDA approved, that lab grown meat for restaurants, right? So now you can't go out and eat and order chicken because you're not going to get real meat. It's not real, right? It's genetically modified, lab grown meat. So I don't know what you're getting in the store, and I'm wondering how they're going to, once this starts to really come out mainstream, because now they're saying it's just for the restaurants, but I'm sure it's gonna be in the grocery store. So I don't know what that's gonna look like. How they're gonna let people know? Are they gonna let people know? What you're getting? Right? Exactly. So listen, we can talk about food, or you guys know I can talk about food, the food part of it, all day long, because it is a big part of what's killing us. It really is. So I'm grateful for you, Jamie Lane, for being bold enough to put these things out here, the real news out here, to talk about it, and for what Brandy just said, right? Like, and this is a segue into what Brandy wrote in this edition, but from what you just said about people just not being mad enough about it and just accepting it, right, and continuing to buy the things that are killing us. Now I want to go into what you talked about being woke, right? And what that really means, because you mentioned that in this issue. Is something like this a part of that definition, right? And then talk about what you wrote for this edition.
Almost definitely. Because think about it. One of the biggest problems with urban areas in particular is they're known to be food deserts. So, as somebody that is aware of that, the food and being woke do go hand in hand. Woke doesn't mean what they've turned it into. And my husband's like, well, how can they take something that's ours? I was like, well, they haven't, but technically, people have had their minds warped as far as woke being a bad thing all of a sudden. And what woke simply means is you're aware of the intrinsic history of things that have led to the conditions that we are currently experiencing, and therefore have an idea of how to seek the solutions necessary to fix it in a way that all of humanity will benefit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you listen to the mainstream and you think woke means anything that's progressive, and that's not the case at all.
And I love that you mentioned, people being willing to seek, right, the knowledge. And that's big part of the problem, right? That people are not willing to seek the knowledge to do better, to be better, to live better, to have better, to want more for themselves and their families. What do you guys think needs to happen for people to wake up and start doing research and start paying better attention and start living better as a result of the research and the knowledge that they're gaining?
Well, people only change for 4 reasons. And I think we've covered that before, not today, but they change through pain, through enough suffering, they'll change. They'll change if they're inspired and recognize that there's more out there, but they have to recognize there's more out there. They change if they have suddenly their resources change. And they'll change because they're devastated. So that kind of falls into pain, but it's like more like in the emotional side of it. I feel like when we are, well, I'm urban, right? I grew up in the city. So it's kind of like, this is what's on the table. So this is what I know. This is what I'm going to continue to adapt into doing. And when I grow up, I'm going to also do that because it's what I'm taught. So it's starting at the highest level of consciousness. And that is going to be whomever is the person that is the most aware in the family dynamics. And there's a lot of movements. And, I had the privileges of sitting in off-grid communities last year and learning about permaculture, which blew my damn mind, and the systems behind that and how that could actually help stop hunger all around. It's not gardening, it's revolutionary. So it's important that we recognize that we have someone to look up to and that it's placed in places where everyone has access to it, so that we can start having contrast away from what we have deemed the norm. We can't grow if we don't know there's more. And the perspective shift is only going to come if something radically comes into our purview so that we can actually see there's more color over here.
Yeah. Ooh, that was so good. That was a lot. That's so good. I love how you described like where people decide to change, like those points where people say, okay, now I'm going to change because something has to take place. And then you also mentioned in that, kind of bringing your family along. Let me put it that way. So now, what do you all think about when they don't want to come with you, right? Because they're scared. They just don't. Maybe they don't believe, right? Even though, like you said, the knowledge is there. It's right there. It's really in our face. To be perfectly honest, we're just not looking at it, right? We're not paying attention. But what do you do about that? Because this really, like all the things that we talk about here every month, right, really needs to happen to the masses. It needs to happen in our families first, in our communities, and then out to the masses. But how do we start to break down those barriers and get to all of those levels of people that we have access to?
I stopped trying to access everybody. My husband and I have come to the conclusion that we're going to run the damn race until we're in a position that if somebody needs help, we can provide help, whatever that help looks like at that point. Because we can't slow down enough to try and bring people with us when nobody is willing. And we can no longer attempt to convince people.
Yeah.
We can only continue the race that we're meant to run, achieve the things that we're meant to achieve,
Yeah.
and learn as we go so we can teach those that are willing later.
Yeah.
They have to be willing before we can try.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
I find that interesting because I had an aunt who passed away. I won't mention which one, just in case, you know, Latino family households. And my mom was sitting with her. My mom had drastically now changed her food. Me and my mom have been on a growth path together the last 8 or 9 years. Everything I'm learning, I'm giving to her. So, you know, she's not, even though she's the elder, I was the one who, you know, got inspired. And so I was able to press that upward as opposed to receiving it downward. And she was with my aunt, and my aunt was like, do you want this food? And I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something unhealthy because they're Mexican background, and everything like in the Mexican side of the family is very saturated in oils and processed foods and very fattening. And my mom was like, no, because I'm watching my health. And she said, well, we're all going to die someday. And the irony is, this is what happened with her. She was excessively overweight, and this is basically what knocked down her immune system. And when she got COVID, it took her right away because she wasn't healthy enough. Sometimes we're going to have people in our families and in our fields that are going to be, unfortunately, the representative.
Yeah.
So we have to be mindful and cognize within ourselves that just stay, like Brandy said, just stay on our path. Because those who are wanting that inspiration will receive it, and those who don't will be the example for the rest of us.
Yeah. And that is so the mentality. I can remember a great aunt of mine got cancer, and she continued to smoke cigarettes. And the reason why I remember it so well, I was younger, but I remember it like I can see it now as I'm talking about it, because you know how you see when you were in school and they had, you take health class and they had the skeleton in the class. This is literally what she looked like in her last days, with a layer of skin. And I'm not trying to freak anybody out, but she continued to smoke. She couldn't even walk, but she continued to smoke cigarettes laying in the bed that she was in. So, and that was her mentality. I'm going to die anyway. So it's unacceptable, but we can't do anything about it. Like you said, if they're not willing to learn more, to do more, to grow more, to be more, it won't happen for them. So, I agree with both of you. And as Brandy said, just continue to do what we're doing, and hopefully, it will start to catch on, right? As people see you, like with your mom, as an example, Dominique, she just said, okay, well, I'm going to try this your way, right? I'm going to do this your way. And what you're learning, I'm going to continue. So God bless you both for that, because she's coming along with you. Yeah. Ooh. Okay. So I just want to say, before we take a quick break, happy International Women's Day, because we did have that recognized in the magazine. So all the beautiful women out there, all races, all cultures, no matter what you do in this world, happy International Women's Day. We love you all. Go out there and do the doggone thing, whatever it is that you're doing. We're going to take a quick break, and we are coming back. I love it. And we are back. So if you caught that commercial, that is another show on Trajectory TV, Daily Dose with Dano. So make sure that you tune into that on Thursday nights. That's tomorrow, everybody, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So listen, we were talking about a lot. So if you missed the first half of this show, go back and watch. Make sure that you go back and watch because there's so much here. There's so much richness in what we've been discussing here. And make sure that you go to radicalpress.org. Yes, get the magazine. Look at the magazine. As I have always mentioned since we started this, it is a whole experience. You will not be disappointed. And it is a really good way to learn, what's being communicated in the magazine because it's so different that you can't help but absorb it. Right? You really can't. You cannot pay attention. Right? That's just how it grabs you. So make sure that you go and get the magazine and have a look-see. All right, and it's gonna wake up all of your senses: audio, visual. Everything's gonna start tingling. So,
in a good way, no strokes.
Right. But I wanted to now kind of go over to the other part that was mentioned here in the magazine: DNA trauma. Yeah, because this is deep, right? This is deep rooted, and you talked about a lot of things that affect our DNA and what causes trauma. And every little thing, I know you were mentioning, the fact that they talked about ADHD and they mentioned people being on these devices, right? Got to go the other way, but mention people being on these devices all the time. And now everybody has ADHD because they're on these devices, right? Or is it just that, we're kind of conforming to what's happening in the world right now?
It's literally changing transmitters. Like it literally affects, that's what it does.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the devices. It absolutely is. When you have things that people don't realize all the things that go on in your brain, right? They take for granted that we hold the power, we hold the knowledge, that there's so much to unlock and we're learning more and more and more and more. That's why DNA is so interesting. That's why there's so much to learn, and it's bullshit that the FDA is like, this is the only fucking way you could ever be because forget DNA, we're disease management. Like, stop it. You're not healthcare. Like, just stop. So they get caught up in that nonsense, and I'm surprised more people aren't pissed off like I am about shit. You want to do what? You want to take my organs? You want to chop off what? Like, more people are they're letting it happen. So when we're sitting here scrolling dirty. And we just scroll dirty. And it's just like 8 seconds, 30 seconds. And we're consuming red dyes. When you see anything with a 40 behind it or a 5, that's engineered, right? Like that's a chemical. That literally is like a plastic thing they're handing us to eat. Okay. So, it's very difficult for me to accept bipolar, borderline, cancer, the way they describe it, which it is cancer, right? That is literal DNA damage, which surprises me. They want to put more chemicals on DNA trauma. So all of it's cancer, right? All of it is DNA trauma. I don't believe ADHD exists. I don't believe in the way that they're saying. I don't believe cystic fibrosis exists that way. I don't believe in diseases. I don't think that. Based on my research, based on what the propaganda is for their medicine and what they want to call medicine and all that thing, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And I want to mention that because, this is really interesting. Get me started here. But okay, when you talk about the chemicals, the things that are in our environment, right? And you look at the studies on ADHD, autism, all these different things out there. And of course, cancer, right? All of it is wrapped around something that's happened in the environment that's starting to change people's, you said DNA, right? And I've never looked at it from the DNA perspective, but that's what it is, right? But I just knew that, okay, when they're talking about all these chemicals and all this, and you have these areas where, autism is higher in this area, but this area has X number of chemicals, right? Why is that? Because, we're subjected to what's in our environment or what's in our food. So kind of go into that. Okay. And then talk about those things that are in our food, the color dyes and all that. Yeah.
I got a serious question.
Yeah.
Has anybody noticed how restless leg syndrome just quietly went away?
Well, I don't know about that one, but I do want to talk about the dyes and the being chemical engineers.
I just got to say,
That was a question for a mastermind group. I'm just saying.
That was I know that was a random question, but I remember hearing about restless leg syndrome on TV. I was like, that is some made up bullshit.
All
and then
the
it just
time.
quietly went away.
Yeah. I wrote that down because I want to dig into that because that's interesting. But so the dyes and the DNA. So everything we consume, that's another thing people don't think about. What are you watching? What are you eating? What are you thinking? What are you looking at? Who are you talking to? It's all in my community, right? Torch, time, oneness, relationship with self, community, and health. Okay. What are our resources? What do we really have? I was driving by a Wendy's the other day and it said 2 for $3. 2 for $3. What kind of food do you think you can get for $1.50? But here's the thing. People are fucked. They're broke. The groceries are $3,000 a month for 3 people. It's outrageous. What the fuck do you want them to do? Of course, you have them poor, broke, eating Wendy's. What kind of country do you think you're going to produce? And the media, the mass media, oh my gosh, the mass media and the propaganda. We can go all the way back to the hemp propaganda, the weed propaganda. They said on the hemp propaganda that darker skinned people raped their mothers by smoking weed, and people believed it, Tracy. I'm the dangerous one? I'm the dangerous one? Are you kidding me? And more people are not pissed off. Like, so we got to think about everything in our environment. Who's our community? Doctors, mainstream media, corporate America, banks, insurance companies, car dealerships, real estate companies, title insurance companies, middleman over here, these people over here, the public school system. We're told how to think, sit in a fucking cubicle and raise your hand to go to the bathroom because that's the kind of society we want to create.
Yeah.
We want you dead. And we want you to let us take your fucking organs from your body too. And we're going to let you mutilate your children, and we're going to give you drugs, and we're going to shut you all up, and we're going to call it borderline personality disorder. And we want all you women to shut the fuck up, and we're going to throw medicine at you and pills at you. That is the country we live in 100%. And that is based on evidence from 247, I can't do the math right now, however many years. I'm not making this up. You've all lived it. You've all seen it. I'm not making this up.
Yeah. And why do you think that there's such a disparity here versus other countries? And some of you have traveled abroad too. So I know, Dominique, you have. So what have you seen in other countries versus here when it comes to just the normal things that we need?
Wow. I spent a good part of my time this year in Romania because I visited 3 times. And when I came home, my mom, I show pictures of food. This is like the first thing I show my mom. I bring her something from that country to eat. And then I show her pictures of the food because to me, this is always such a big, it's so different. It's always so different. So what I noticed a lot in European cultures is that they're very thin. Their skin looks better. They have more opportunities for food that is organic. I didn't see anything that had to label anything as, like we have here. And in Romania, they eat a lot of meat. It was just like meat on meat. And I know in Brazil it was a lot of rice and grain and beans. But again, it's not like it's subsidized like corn is here. This is still growing in somebody's backyard and healthy soil and things like that. In Switzerland, it was like nature has never even been touched, and everything was just so fresh. Even the oxygen in Switzerland almost had a texture because there was so much of it. I can't even explain that. Wow. You ever noticed air? No, go to Switzerland. You'll notice air.
Wow.
Yeah, and then in places like in France, it was like a lot of carbs. So there, and you could see the difference in the structure of the people. And when I ask people, what did you think about Americans? They're like, oh, Americans are all fat, unhealthy, and stupid.
And stupid to boot. And you just mentioned something too when you talked about the foods in the different areas. Because I've been watching this Dr. Bobby Price. He's called Dr. Holistic, right? Very much into just finding food that's indicative of different areas, right? So do you think that they understand that they're growing the food that should be grown in their areas, right?
Right.
So it's healthier for you because they know that this is what my soil produces well.
Yeah,
right?
not mass production because Bill Gates bought all the fucking land.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And on top of that, not trying to make everybody eat a very same diet
yeah,
because culturally we have different diets from where we've come from. So we
yeah.
should be eating what is from our natural origin or our root because it's good. Like Greece, when I was in Greece, there was olive trees everywhere. Olives were in
Mm.
everything, and people looked amazing. But that doesn't mean that we could reproduce that here and we'll look amazing because
Right.
Yeah.
this is ingrained into their DNA, into their family history, into their root.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I remember one of my girlfriends, her husband is Greek. And of course, he lives here in the United States. However, a lot of his family is still there in Greece. So they did two weddings. They did one here, they did one in Greece. But what she said when she first started visiting his family is they still have all their own farms. And she's like, do you know that eggs are not really the color? Like when you crack open an egg, like it's not that clear and just that she's like, it's orange. She's like, and I'm talking, you go to the chicken and you get the egg. She's like, the inside is orange. She's like, real eggs do not look like what you buy.
And they're not refrigerated.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was
Yeah.
living off grid, that was the first time people, I'm like, aren't we going to put this in the fridge? And everyone just looked at me like, what? No, I'm like, what do you mean? And like, it has a mucus membrane around it. It actually preserves the egg. So it doesn't, the moment you put it in the fridge, it renders it useless and then it has to stay refrigerated. So you're harming it. No, it doesn't even have to ever go in the fridge. It can just sit on the counter.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It's something I distinctly remember about being in Germany as a kid is they don't serve drinks with ice in it.
Mm-mm.
And when I went back and asked why, I said ice slows down the digestion.
Cold does.
It's cold, yeah.
Yeah. Why would you do that?
Don't
Yeah.
even get me
Yeah.
started on how I
Something
found no
greasy
air
and you're not-
conditioner anywhere.
Yeah, but if
Yeah.
you're eating something greasy and you're not following it with something that cleanses the palate, like pickled ginger or something like that,
Mhm.
and then you add cold on top of it, you're solidifying grease in your gut.
Yeah. But why do you think most cultures drink something hot after a meal? Right? To warm your body up, to help it go through your bloodstream better, right? And we digest our food better in that afternoon time because that's when everything is warmer, right? So we digest our food better in that time. So people always say, oh, you have to have breakfast. No, lunchtime is when you should really eat, get all the nutritious food that you need because that's when you're going to be able to digest your food better. And then your smaller meals should come at dinner time.
Yeah, and I saw a lot of other countries, they have savory breakfasts because the way the sugar impacts you in the morning is so substantial. Other places know that, but here we have Wheaties. Frosted Flakes, and then you send your kids high on sugar to school and wondering why they can't sit down in a classroom and focus because they're high on sugar. They don't have ADHD.
Quit talking sense.
Yeah.
Quit talking sense.
You just shocked their body. That's what it was. You shocked them.
You're like, here, now go sit and focus for 8 hours.
Clear. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to shift over before we end. We talked a little bit about this earlier about how we, kind of get to the masses. In this edition, also, you were talking about the power of community and people coming together. So talk a little bit about what your idea around that is.
Okay. So I remember you asking me first, and I gave you this arbitrary number of 1 million, right? Because even me, right? 1 million, that's, wow, if we could impact 1 million people. And that's great. But first one, right? So I said to the universe like a month ago, because I thought about it. And I was like, well, what the fuck are you going to do with 1 million people? You can't fucking reach 1 million people at once, Jamie. You're not that powerful. So,
technically you're 10,000 people strong, Jamie, if you count all your ancestors behind you.
That's true. That's true. I do have a lot of power inside of me. So I thought, okay, well, one. I want to mentor Gen Z women. They seem to be the most thirsty and hungry and need nourished our generation. And a couple of the Gen Z vendors I work with came to me for help, and I've been helping them build their cleaning business and figuring out, They wanted to decipher the news. I said, turn that propaganda machine off. That's a marketing campaign for war. Turn that fucking shit off. She was so scared, and I didn't realize Gen Z were so scared. And they're anxious because of the shit. And so anyway, so she was, I feel so much better. I was like, yeah, and then I helped this other woman do a walkthrough and like tell her, just key things she needed to do, and it just felt really good, one at a time. And then I thought, and then I'm part of this business group, and then I saw these women like begging for mentorship and other women, and I was like, hey, I'm here, but they haven't approved my membership yet. So I just get excited. They're taking forever. So it's okay. The universe, I'm not ready, right? So in my mind, I'm like, I would really love to do a round robin with women and just mentor them and whatever it is, right? Everyone gets like 5 minutes. I don't know how many. I don't know. I don't know. Okay. I just envision this in my head that we're all sitting here and there's other women who've come in. And just like we have more viewers today that we didn't have a couple weeks ago. And I just feel like that something could be really done with that. And we just mentor. We do, all I want to do is do speed mentoring, speed consulting, and research. That's all I want to do. You know what I mean? That's how I want to spend my time. And then do investments and stuff on, things like that. But that's how I want to spend my time. So that's what I want. And I don't know how. I just know
I want to win, no matter what.
Put your hands up. So I love that idea. So I had this idea about doing a live event, and it was all based around based around speed dating, but speed networking. So when you just said that, I'm like, ooh, we should do this. Speed networking, right? And I don't know, maybe you pick some topics, what to talk about, and then that's what you give people as you are speed dating and you go around. And I don't know exactly what it looks like, but I just thought that idea, like we should do a speed dating networking event,
Yeah.
So we're gonna put that out in the universe. It's gonna be somewhere live, everybody, for all the people out there. And we're more geared towards women, but for the men that support the beautiful women out here, please.
Because men are tools and they're there to help us.
That's right. Join us. So I hate that we are like almost at the end. So I want to give each lady final words before we close out the show.
Stop taking your time for granted.
Amen.
Ask for what your value is. Don't be afraid to ask for what you're selling your time. You're selling your life force energy for a dollar amount. You're selling your life for a dollar amount. Look at it that way, and all dynamics when it comes to finances and time start to shift. Because as women, we kind of get shy to ask for the value. So remember, you're selling your life force.
Which brings me to say, own your will. It's got to start with you. You have to start with you, the relationship with yourself. You have to start dating yourself, loving yourself, be a friend of yourself. I don't care if you have a partner or not. I don't care. It has to be you, because you cannot give or do anything else. Own your will.
Yeah.
Know your resources, and value your time.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say, just spark that awareness, right? Like that desire to know more. Go out there and seek some knowledge and some wisdom. Like, get that fire burning. You have a podcast called Torch. I love that it's called Torch. So whatever's gonna light up the torch, right? Light the torch up. Go out there and get what you need. It's available. It's available. You heard the ladies here say it's available to you. Just go out and get it. So this has been absolutely amazing, everybody. As always, the ladies from the Radical Press are on fire. There's so much wisdom right here on this stage from these three ladies. Absolutely amazing. I appreciate you all. Listen, we're doing this every month. So when you want to come back and get more wisdom, more juice, more fire, more truth, come back every month. We always do it's usually the last Wednesday of the month, around the last Wednesday of the month. Look for the ladies of Radical Press coming on the Whole Living Show. You heard it here. If you missed any part of the show, please go back and watch, because this was so good. And do not forget to go read, listen, allow yourself to be tantalized by Radical Press magazine. That just sounds sexy, right? Be tantalized by Radical Press magazine. So go out and read it. The link is actually right here on the show page for you. So you just click the link and have your experience. We love you all out there. We will see you next week right here on the Whole Living Show, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you. Take care.